Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Today we have Carlos Gadelha speaking about health as development, experience to face global asymmetries. He works for Fiocruz at the moment, but I'll give a little bio in a bit.
Great. Then I think it's great if we can begin. I'm going to send this thing via Twitter because
welcome everyone. Sorry, I think Carlota, I think thanks. Your audio. Okay, so first just some general rules, some housekeeping suggestions. You can please mute your microphone when everyone else is speaking. We are recording this and is being live streamed on YouTube. So be aware of that. In case we get raided, we'll try to expel all the invaders. So the host will be working on the background to avoid anyone from getting in. And then if anything happens, we'll send the link through the mailing list and we'll be sharing with everyone. You can also use the chat box to ask any questions if you have them. You can just write them directly in the chat. You can put a question or clarification. And if you're watching from YouTube, you can also post your questions and we'll be transferring them to here so that we can share them all with Carlos in the end. And any comments you want to leave as well. Also turn off your cameras if you're going out or something. Just turn off your cameras and your microphones. And the group, I think Carlota can explain a little bit about the group. And then I can give you all the details to contact us.
You want me to say it now?
Yeah. I think
okay. Well, basically for Carlos, maybe, I don't know, maybe there are some others who don't know. This group has been going on for about over 3 years, I think. It mainly puts together people who are doing, people from Latin America, basically, who are studying technology policy, science and technology policy, or government policy in general, because they would be not in. We're putting together people from Sussex University, SPRU and IDS, and then people from IIPP, an institute that was recently created by Mariana Mazzucato, where she has set up a master's in public management. So it's really for people who would be working in practice. Now, the thing is that very often Latin Americans who come on scholarships to Europe study and then go back, even though they studied technology policy, science policy, they go back to academia. And then they basically write articles about this, do research about it, and generally publish in English. And frankly, they have very little relationship with the policymakers. Having been a policymaker myself, and having tried very hard to get academia to help me, I know that this is a problem. And this group is trying to connect those two people, the academics who are studying the theory and the actual practitioners, and somehow either to attract some of the academically graduated PhDs, masters, and so on, attract them into the public sector so that they will use their knowledge directly, or have them be interested in connecting to the people who are in the public sector so that there will be more interactions. So some of the things that Renata is going to tell us about how to get in touch with the things that this group is doing and how to basically have to do with creating that link. We would like to basically make sure that nobody stays in a tunnel, in a silo in the academic world without knowing the very, very difficult tasks that policymakers have to face in Latin America, and especially to actually help, to actually use their knowledge in somehow in policy making, either doing it themselves or helping others. So basically, this is a connecting group. And that's why this luxury presenter we have today is going to be very useful for our students here. Okay, Renata,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Carlota. So you can contact us, this group, through this email. So we have a group email. We'll share all the information about next meetings for you to see. And you can also access the website where you can find the materials and everything from the past meetings. We also have some groups on LinkedIn that you can look for. So if you are from SPRU, IDS, or IIPP, you can look for this one specific group. And then there's another one which is open, and then anyone can participate. And we always post on all groups all the information. So I think I will stop sharing for a little and just talk to you about Carlos and his whole history. So he has a PhD from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, from the Economics Institute. He's now the coordinator of the Center for Strategic Studies of the Presidency of Fiocruz. He's a lecturer at the Sergio Arouca National School of Public Health, also from Fiocruz. He has extensive scientific production and is an active researcher on issues associated with the economics, industrial, and innovation development in health industries. He was the Vice President of Production and Innovation at Fiocruz, Secretary of Science and Technology and Strategic Products of the Ministry of Health, and Secretary of Industrial Development and Competitiveness of the Ministry of Industrial Development and Foreign Trade. So I think I'll just hand over to Carlos now for him to talk to us about his former work. You're muted, I think, Carlos. Yes.
First of all, I'd like to thanks a lot Carlota Perez, and also Renata, Arthur, João Carlos Ferraz, who established the connection, and all many friends that maybe. Andrea Laplan is here. Hi, Andrea. Igor Bueno from the Financial Institution for Science and Technology. It's really a pleasure. Carlota, you are one of my references in my whole life, in my whole academic life. It's really a pleasure to be here. And I love to participate and interact with young people, thinking young as in terms of mind and not in terms of age. I feel myself young. I feel myself young. I hope so, to learn, to change ideas, to search for new ways. I'm here not only to teach, but also to learn. My English is not very good, sorry. My Spanish is even worse. But I always can establish a good interaction. I'm here with two researchers that work with me in Oswaldo Cruz Foundation, Marco Nascimento and Felipe Camille. Especially Marco can help me. If you have any difficulties to understand, please let me know. Marco will help me. If I have any problem to understand you, I can also be interrupted or let you know that I don't understand. But we will not have a problem with the language, I'm sure. And first of all, I'd like to tell you, I am from Oswaldo Cruz Foundation. It is, it's the last slide. I am completely not linear. The last slide, I will present one of the most striking mission-oriented organizations for Latin America. Nowadays, the North must look at to the South to even to notice how the contribution we have been doing in terms of theory and in terms of policy practice. We have to return for our biggest thinkers as Celso Furtado, Conceição Tavares, Milton Santos. We have many, many good people. Please don't look only to Harvard. Look to Harvard also, but look also for the Latin American Freeman. He's from the North, but also interact with ourselves. Many, many, many people. Professor Cassolato, I have a long, long list to give you, but please, please, look. Nowadays, we must know the value of what we have been thinking for a long time, and at the same time, how to advance, to have the courage to propose new ideas, new policies, new strategy, to learn about our mistakes, and to learn how to improve to achieve a better world and a better society. In Oswaldo Cruz Foundation, we don't have option to separate theory from policy practice. All our DNA, we think about the universal health system, and at the same time, we participate, many people from Oswaldo Cruz Foundation participate as health ministers, as policymakers. My experience all the time is about that. Thinking and act, thinking and act, thinking and act. We have to return for this perspective. I think that academic people, the academic institution, lose this connection between thinking and to change the world. Yeah. I'd like to talk with the young people, please. Energy to change things, learn to change the reality, not only to adapt or to understand it. Then I will present you, sorry, I am a Latin person. I talk with my heart, not only with my brain, okay? I will talk to you a little about the theoretical perspective that guided the policy practice. Fortunately, we have this chance to transform ideas in policies. Secondly, I will show you the policy Brazilian experience that unfortunately is being falling, to say the minimum. But at the same time, I will present some kind of a roadmap or some kind of a new perspective to connect the social policy, the industrial policy, the technology and science policy, and environmental policy. I'm used to say that we implemented a mission-oriented policy 10 years ago. 10 years ago. One of the first mission-oriented policies when you consider the social policy, not only the defense. These areas are very traditional in mission-oriented. I don't like this mission, okay? The mission of arms. I prefer the mission of well-being and of the sustainability. Then I think that we can interact around this experience, not only to say, it was good, okay, it was good, but how can we advance and to establish national and global projects in this challenge that the world is being facing right now. Only a little before to initiate the presentation, the COVID-19 pandemic revealed very strongly, unfortunately, our hypotheses were right. The interaction between the economical progress, the innovation progress, the innovation policy, the innovation direction show its perverse face in the COVID-19 situation. I will talk to you it in the end, but I will talk it now. I saw the Oscar ceremony. I got happy. I like to see films and Oscar, but I got a little, and I was not happy. Everybody was vaccinated. Everybody was clean. Everybody was healthy. And near my house, near Oswaldo Cruz Foundation, people were dying. People were dying. This is not a sustainable world. The 2030 agenda is being thrown out. The main, how can I say, sentence of the 23rd agenda is not left anybody behind. People are being left to die, are being left behind. Rich countries are taking out products for poor countries, for its population. We must discuss that. I want to discuss development. We must discuss new strategy. Then I have a good humor. I don't know if in English is that. I love to say Oscar. I saw 2 films after that, but that scenario show the structural problem that the world is facing. The films are about the social dilemmas. They are dealing with inequality. They are dealing with climate change, but at the same time, they are not discussing how the South can participate in the fruits of the progress. The old Latin America agenda to discuss how to participate in the fruits of the progress. Sorry, I will begin the class. Okay? I will share my slides. Only 1 minute to, okay. I will present you the perspective that consider health as development, and I'm very, I will be very concentrated to present also the policy experience that I know Carlota asked me to do that. I know you have a very strong interest in that. I will present you the perspective of the health economic industrial complex. It's a concept of the same family of the national innovation system and many perspectives that dialogue with this perspective. I don't have time to talk more about that, but don't worry, it's part of the national innovation system. But we emphasize the hardcore where the capital accumulation is in the health. And this perspective, how can I say, induce or help to establish many policy direction and many policy initiative to develop health. Then I will present the experience to dialogue with the COVID-19 context. It's impossible not dialogue with this context. And to finally, I will discuss some policy models, policy possibilities, and policy lessons that you can develop. In the end, if I have time, I will talk a little, very little about Oswaldo Cruz Foundation, that one of the most important institutions in Latin America that produce vaccine, diagnosis products, pharmaceuticals, but at the same time, it was the institution that occupied the leadership in the conception of the universal health system. This perspective that link industry, innovation, and health innovation as a universal system, how can I say, I have all my gratitude to Oswaldo Cruz Foundation because it shows the necessity of this interaction in the real world. Only to begin, I will admit João Carlos Ferraz, okay, because he is in the slides. Okay. I brought these slides. I brought these slides only to provoke the discussion. I not talk only about patent. It's an important part of our discussion, but what is behind these slides? In 1955, Jonas Salk, inventor of the polio vaccine, was asked, who holds the vaccine patent? In defense of the vaccine as a universal public good, Salk answered, could you patent the sun? He is a scientist working for the public health access for the people, for the population. 6-7 years later, the real world interests reveal themselves and vaccines constitute a central economic segment of health and for the exercise of power in the global geopolitics of knowledge amid the pandemic crisis. We must, to deal with vaccine, we must consider this interaction between innovation, economics, social policy, and a more equitable world. I brought here I brought here some key points that establish the problem. First, health must be considered a way for development. It's part of human rights and one of the most prominent areas to generate income, employment, investment, and innovation. Second, COVID-19, global health pandemic, revealed the systemic characteristics. We have been emphasizing it during the last 20 years. I don't talk it about any kind of nostalgia, but you can mistake for the future. You can commit the same mistake for the future. Please, other mistakes, not the same one. The COVID revealed the systemic characteristics of the health production that involve pharmaceutical, vaccine, pharmaceutical, vaccine equipment, individual protective products and services. COVID shows very clearly that we are talking about the economical system. You can deal with COVID without pharmaceutical, without diagnosis, without service, without universal system. We mobilize a role system that must be integrated. The definition of system is the interdependence. And COVID shows very clearly the interdependence of the economic and the social system to deal with one pandemic, but not only with that, to deal with the health access. And third, it's impossible to guarantee universal access without a production-based structure to attend the current social necessity and the future needs. Involve a prospection requirement about critical ways to direct the production and innovation efforts. Fourth, there is a strong global production technological asymmetry that reduces variety of approach, reduces competition, and locks the system in structural knowledge inequality between regions, countries, territories, and people. I'd like to emphasize this very much. We must face the technological symmetries that we are seeing in the world. only 1 minute because there is a noise here. I will ask people to stop. Only 1 minute, please. Sorry. As a result, the fifth point, as a result, we observe a mismatch between health needs, a crucial SDG, and the knowledge and production base that support it. The COVID-19 also shows us that we must evolve and establish the interaction between economics, innovation, production, social needs, and environmental sustainability in the 2030 agenda. The perspective we have been working during all this time is that we must interact, we need to interact as the two sides of the same coin, the political, the social, and the environment transformation with the economic innovation and industrial dynamics. There is an endogenous relationship. Please, economists, don't think that health is externality. It's wrong. It's completely wrong. Health and the social system is part of the economics and the productive and innovation evolution of the system. Don't separate these worlds. COVID-19 shows it very clear, but people, mainly from the economic field, in general, forget very fastly this new lesson that change our paradigms, including the paradigms to think about the policy experience. This slide is very simple, but it's completely important for the whole perspective that Brazil adopted during the 15 years during this century. Health and development, this relationship, we must consider at least these three dimensions. The social perspective dimension, considering health as a right. For me, it's the point of departure. We don't have to prove that health generate economic progress to be for to consider health as a right. It's the point of departure, not the end of the process. And first, we must consider health as a right, a citizenship question, and a way to think about a society project that emphasizes collectivity, universal access, equality, and so on. At the same time, and they are closely related, health is one of the most dynamic area in terms of economic and innovation perspective. It assumes the leadership in the third technological revolution and in the fourth technological revolution. Don't worry if you don't think that we are in a technological revolution. It's not a problem for this perspective, but we are in the middle of a strong technological change, and health assumed the leadership in these changes, and at the same time, it is being challenged. I will talk about that in the end of this class. It is being challenged for this technological revolution. Doesn't matter if it's the third, the fourth, and so on. Carlota can teach us much more than me about how you categorize the technological change we are in the middle of the process. And we have been a point that health has a growing role in the international relation and in the global geopolitics. We used to say that even before the COVID, and nowadays it's very clear. There is a political battle around vaccine, around access, around innovation, and so on. And third, it's impossible to talk about health without considering its close interaction with the environmental perspective. But the point is that, again, we must consider this three-dimension endogenously. You can't evolve in one dimension without evolving in another dimension. This is the perspective, and this perspective has a very, very normative, application, policy application. It's not only discourse or a matter of thinking. The health economic industrial complex is a huge complex in the world and in Brazil that involves 4 subsystems. The chemical and biotech subsystem involve pharmaceutical, vaccines. The mechanical, electronic, and material-based industry subsystem involve medical equipment, prostheses and orthoses, diagnosis devices, the whole services. We can't break industry from service when we talk about health. They have a strong connection. If you talk about health industry without consider services, is more or less as talking about automotive industry without the car. Then we must consider the service not only as an area that absorbs technology, as in the Pavet taxonomy, but an area very important that creates knowledge and innovation. And the 4th system, it is new. We recently launched and updated the concept, the information and connectivity activities. All these activities are interact each other. For example, returning for COVID-19 to deal with the pandemic context, we have to think about vaccine, but at the same time, you have to think about the primary care to prevent, to hospital, to take care of people when they need the intensive treatment, for example. We must have equipment to diagnose the lungs of the person. And all of these activities are intensive in information and connectivity. The new vaccine was an innovation. Before COVID, the record of innovation vaccine was developed in 4 years. COVID, it was developed in less than 1 year, using big data, artificial intelligence, and so on. Then this system is completely connected, and the sectoral borders are disappearing, or at least are interacting each other. Even for public policy or for private strategy, you can work in the health field without considering the systemic interdependence of the system. Brazil, at the same time, has a very, very good opportunity to develop in health. This is the point of the pattern. Brazil has the largest universal system in the world. Probably many of you doesn't know that. In terms of population, Brazil, it is in our constitution, is the largest universal system in the world. It mobilized 9% of GDP, employment 18 million people, considering direct and indirect employment, are involved in health fields. How to face the crisis? Invest in health. You generate employment, you generate GDP, you generate R&D, and you stimulate the economy. And at the same time, you may have the opportunity to enter in the 4th industrial revolution. It's very difficult. People are used to see health only as expenditure. We are asking people to change the glasses, to see health and an opportunity of development, and at the same time, it is an ethical commitment of one kind of society. It is an ethical imperative, but at the same time, this ethical imperative generates employment, innovation, a new way of development. This chart shows the mismatch between, I will return, between the difference and the mismatch between the social and political transformation and the economic and industrial one. This chart shows the trade deficit of Brazil during the period when the access became evolved a lot in the direction of the universal access. After 2003, the access increased very much, but our import increased a lot, from $5 billion to $15 billion in real terms, not nominal terms. The vulnerability was shown very clearly, and many policy perspective was established during this period to reverse this perspective. As you see, at least the line is stabilized. Here is the deficit, and here is the export. When you see the composition of this import, it is very concentrated in drugs and in the pharmaceutical market, but it will also involve the whole system. The fragility shows it in the whole system. In ventilator, during this period, our import of ventilator increased 5 times. During the crisis, 3 times, from $50 million to more than $150 million, acquiring bad products, in a battle to acquire products. And the economical problem is not an economical problem anymore. It is a health problem. It is a social problem. It is a life problem. When you consider the personal protective equipment, it is more than $1 billion. It was more than $1 billion in the middle of the crisis, and it was not even more because there weren't products in the global market. And this vulnerability is very perverse. More than 100 countries, almost all developed countries, I accuse them. I complain against them. Almost all developed countries establish export barriers to permit access of less developed countries or the underdeveloped countries. The 2030 agenda was being put out. I don't know if the English is that, but was being thrown away. The health economic complex is the middle field of the national innovation system. If we don't have these muscles, this economic base, the knowledge we acquire or the knowledge we develop doesn't transform itself in economic and social development. This economical space is the translational space between research, development, and life. Please, don't ask to Latin America to be locking only knowledge and only to buy products to guarantee the social development. If you don't have, and I have some data about vaccine, you see that. If you don't have the health complex, the industrial and the service base, you don't transform your knowledge in development and social access. This chart, this slide, and this picture is very known but I brought it here to stimulate our debate. You see the robots giving some coins for a poor person. But instead of seeing the coins, you could see vaccine doses. Vaccine doses developed with robots, with artificial intelligence, with big data. They are being given for poor people when there is a very secure condition for the rich people to offer some chance, some coins in the form of vaccine for the poor people. This picture could be transformed itself for vaccine. I try to do that. This other picture for me is very important and shows the risk we are dealing in the current days. In the left side, you see a soap, typical soap from poor people, poor population, poor countries. In the right side, you see a soap that is offered for rich people, for rich population. We see why the algorithms from Google, Amazon, Watson, Azure, and so on, they don't recognize this soap as a soap. They think it is hamburger, wood. They commit mistake. They don't commit mistake. Maybe the developers generally are white people, highly educated, from high-income countries. The geographic restriction in certain way, failure to recognize cultural difference, to recognize social difference, to develop health products, because the soap is healthy products. The statistics don't classify like that, but they are health products. They are essential to COVID. And our algorithms don't recognize that. When you see the global context, we see the same picture. The patent, the intensive of patent protection is in the darker side of the picture. Sorry, I am daltonic, then it's only black and white to help me. Show a strong asymmetry in terms of regions that are able to patent in every sector. The same situation appear the asymmetry in the Human Development Index. Again, the chart, the most simple chart, the most simple slide is the most stronger slide. This situation of the patent asymmetry is very close to this situation of Human Development Index. Harvard discovered ECLAC, and now is considering the interaction between the complexity of the industrial structure and inequality. Countries that produce raw materials in general are more unequal than countries that has scientific and technological capability. I'm used to joke. It's very good that Harvard discovered Latin American thinking. I think they could put a little more, because we have been working this perspective for a long time. With this productive structure, we will have a region very, very unequal and very, very exclusive. It's not a determinist from the productive structure. I'm against with this determinist perspective. On the opposite side, it is the social base, the political base of society that at the same time stimulate innovation, a different productive structure, and the social universal system, the welfare system. The determinations from society and from politics for the economic structure and not the opposite direction. When we see biotechnology in the world, 15 companies ask for more than 6% of patent. You see here, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Sanofi, Johnson & Johnson, maybe the next year, Moderna, the strong asymmetry in biotechnology, products for cancer, for vaccine, and so on, are, how can I say, are in the hand of a very few companies, not against them. Oswaldo Cruz Foundation has a very good partnership with AstraZeneca, with GlaxoSmithKline, Butantan with Sanofi, but please, more variety, more competition, more diversity, more countries, more companies, more people participate of this process. And the situation for the future is even more challenging. 88% of patents in the health field are in the hands of only 10 countries. The current situation will be worse in the future if you don't change the global health perspective and the national perspective. In the vaccine scenario, again, I will not return for that chart. I suppose you are very tired of that chart, the initial one, but the asymmetrical distribution of vaccine production capability has a counterface. I don't know if this language exists in English. Has the other side of the coin is the difference in access. 54% of the doses of vaccine attend 60% of the population. The difference in the world production and innovation capability shows also the perversity of a difference in the world access to vaccine. Again, the image of the Oscar Prize appear very clearly in this difference. Oscar audience and the favela population that are dying without vaccine, without soap, without social distance, without diagnostic tests that is in our system, economical system, and so on. To face this, now I will enter in the Brazilian policy. To face this systemic aspect of health, I can tell you that Brazil adopted a striking and a pioneering example of mission-oriented policy guided by social needs. I have the opportunity to interact with the group of Mariana Mazzucato, a person who I admire a lot and who is helping us to put this perspective in a global scenario. Brazil adopted this policy since 2008 and during more or less 10 years, we established an industrial policy, but attention, the industrial policy was coordinated by the health policy. It was the social needs direct to guarantee the universal access that coordinate the industrial policy. João Carlos is here. Igor from FINEP is here also. The health minister committed himself to buy products for the universal health, Brazilian universal health system. The public agencies, BNDES, FINEP, finance the same products. The intellectual property and the sanitary regulation work together. The commercial policy to establish some temporary barriers or temporary support was put to work. Technological support from technological institutions for this technology, and the International Cooperation Act at the same time. The counterface, ou the Marco, como é que eu, Marco, how can I say contrapartida?
Counterbalance?
No, the other side, okay, the other side of the systemic perspective of the economic system was the systemic perspective of the public policy, to interact the health policy with the industrial policy, involve mainly public purchase and financing. Look, the Brazilian policy model that you must recover and you must discuss and you must overcome it to evolve and not to come back and to how can I say, to look to the past, to a past that the system doesn't interact with among them. Look, the health ministry established the priorities to acquire products for the universal system. They mobilize the public science, technology, and innovation institution as Oswaldo Cruz Foundation. These institutions interact with private companies, and they establish technological partnership to sell products to attend the health commitments with the health of the population. Instead of buying products, considering our market only as a market to sell products, we consider the market as a national asset to develop technologies. This is not an idea. We established in 2013 more than 100 partnerships. Products were being acquired by the health ministry and financed by BNDES and FINEP in a regulatory context more how can I say, favorable to adopt innovation strategy. To give you some examples, very important examples. In the biopharmaceutical field, Oswaldo Cruz Foundation established this kind of partnership to produce products for chronic disease in interaction with national and international companies and to sell products for the health ministry. And you will ask me, it's important. Why it's important? The production of the vaccine for COVID is being done in this technological platform. Without these 10 years of public policy to use the public procurement to stimulate innovation and to attend the health system, Brazil and the Oswaldo Cruz Foundation will not produce vaccine for to attend the COVID-19 pandemic. The same happened with Butantan. We fight during 13 years to Butantan in partnership with private sector, but with the right price to attain the Brazilian universal market, develop the vaccine for the traditional influenza. This is the same technological platform that Butantan is producing vaccine in partnership with Sinovac. Without this partnership, I have to confess you, I am having legal problem because we acquire products from Butantan. Legal problem. The old state against the new entrepreneurial state. Legal problem. I don't regret. We bought these products to influenza. we vaccinate 80, not 18, 8 million people against influenza. Imagine COVID and influenza together. But at the same time, this technological platform is the way to produce COVID vaccine by Fiocruz and by Butantan. Then we are in the middle of a process, thinking more generally. Carlota, as you asked me, I brought here a very concrete example of public policy, of a mission-oriented public policy. It's very concrete, not only theory, it's very concrete. It was very concrete. And nowadays we have to discuss the way we deal with the fourth technological revolution. If we fragment health, if you deal with health as a space of inequality, separate innovation from access, or if you will fight, it's a political decision, as I told you. It's not natural. It's not emerging from the technology. It doesn't emerge from science. It emerges from people, If you will try to develop health as a space of solidarity, a space to permit the universal system to be achieved, and a space to integrate the humanistic, the social, and the environmental perspective with innovation and economic dynamism. The world is changing a lot. The social life, this meeting, we can't imagine this meeting some time ago. The welfare system, mobility, the forms of leisure, the work organization, the multilateral relation, the field of art and culture, the income distribution related to knowledge. I don't have time, but I'd like to talk about that. The knowledge asymmetry as the mother of income asymmetry and so on. Everything is changing. And you have to think all the time as a political decision, how to take care of people in their collective and not only in the individual environment. The perspective of well-being environment as engines for development in the first 1 century. The perspective of the health economic complex, we develop a more broad perspective, and we published a paper in 2016, propose a more overall perspective to include environment, mobility, the real problem of society, to adopt a model, not a model, don't like to adopt approach, an improving approach that we have adopted in Brazil. Only to finish the presentation, I am almost in 50 minutes. Finish the presentation, the relationship between the health and development. Why I think we're talking something new. Not only to talk about new things, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about a better world and a better country, a better nation, equality. This is my worry. But the relationship between health and development, how the Bretton Woods institution view this relationship. They consider that health is only a way that could block or favor development, a external way. The problem of the underdeveloped world was the malaria, was the mosquito. I have a Disney video, I don't have time to show you, but it's a fantastic video that shows the perspective of the Bretton Woods agenda. Please read the book, The Birth of Development. It shows it very clearly from the historic perspective. But what Marco helped me, and he took 3 photos from the video. These were the scenario. Here in the underdeveloped world, the developing world, I don't like developing world, but after I talk about that, a rich family, very, very nice family. They eat well, they were healthy, and they became like that, poor, sad, without health, without rights. What was the cause? The cause was the mosquito, the malaria mosquito. It is in the Disney film that reflects the perspective of the Bretton Woods agenda for the development. Health was a way. We must kill the mosquito with DDT, and the situation will be recovered. Health is human capital. Health is external. It's a way that could favor or induce this reality and not this reality. The Latin America perspective were against this perspective and say, they are doctor. Maybe the economist doesn't know him. Please read him, Mário Magalhães. He wrote with José de Castro and the biggest thinkers of Latin America. He was against the perspective saying the problem of inequality, of the economic structure, the problem of the society problem, the social determinants of health explain this, and not the mosquito explain this. In the COVID, you see it very clear. The problem of favela is not only the vaccine and not only of COVID. They are a social problem. But they consider health as a superstructure problem, not an economical problem. What we are proposing and what we proposed in Brazil and we are proposing now, I promise you, the book is being translated that updated this perspective. Health is at the same time part of the superstructural, part of policy, part of the desire, but the health are part of the economical structure of our society. Health endogenously reproduce the structural asymmetry of the society. If there is an inequality in patent, it appears in the health. If there is an income inequality, it appears in health access. If there is production inequality in industry, it appears very clearly in health. We need a structural change in health and in the social base of our society. The material base of the welfare system and for the environment must be changed, not only the desire, but also the structure of our society. Talking with my friends from Latin America, I have two symbols. We must articulate Celso Furtado, one of the most preeminent thinkers about development and the structural change, with Sérgio Arouca, who conceived the universal system in the South, the biggest universal system in the world that was being constructed in Brazil and now is at risk. Put together people outside from our box, put together people that think differently to articulate the social, the economical, and the environment aspect of development. Health is not production. Health is not social rights. Health is development. It's not health to development or development to health, the direction. Health at the same time is production, innovation, knowledge, social rights, environment, and citizenship. The general perspective, the political battle, is that well-being is a lever for development and not a restriction. It's a path for the structural change. I already talk about that. They are semi-conclusion. I have already talked to you. This is Oswaldo Cruz Foundation. It's only to show you 2 slides. It's a mission-oriented institution. I am very proud. I worked all my life being an economist. All my studies were in economics, but I worked in all my life in a mission-oriented institution to achieve the universal access in Brazil. This Oswaldo Cruz, our founder. Since the beginning of the institution, we worked to combat smallpox, bubonic plague, yellow fever. We helped to build the Brazilian universal system, and nowadays we are in the front line to deal with COVID-19 pandemic. Einstein visited our mission-oriented institution, and we got very proud of that at that time. These are a historical photo. It is a kind of a celebration, I don't know the name in English, of the workers, the health workers, the workers that are in the front line to take care of people. Here is a historical photography of the workers in the yellow fever, working in the yellow fever vaccine in the 20s. Fiocruz spread all over Brazil, produced vaccine diagnosed by a pharmaceutical. There is a mistake in this slide. Fiocruz also is very strong in infectious disease services. Even when we prepare the slide, we break our minds in the social branch and the industrial branch, in the service and the industry that are completely connected, even in our institution. In our institution, Fiocruz developed research, clinical trials in our service sector. We don't have vaccine, pharmaceuticals without services, but not service with intensive in knowledge. They create value. And at the same time, you can scale up the products to offer diagnostic tests, medicines, and vaccines for our universal system. We are having problems related to supply of vaccine. Imagine if you don't have Oswaldo Cruz Foundation in Butantan. It would be a catastrophe even bigger, much bigger than the catastrophe we are facing. Only to finish, 2 quotes from Furtado and from Oswaldo Cruz. From Furtado, I will not read with my English, I will be ashamed, but Furtado analyzed the necessity of a political project, not a technical project, sorry, but based on consistent knowledge of social reality to break the perverse logic of the development. Carlota, I didn't know how to translate this sentence from Oswaldo Cruz, sem esmorecer para não desmerecer. I translate it like that, but I really don't know if it has the same meaning. But please, energy to change, to establish a structural change, to achieve a better society. Brazilian experience, I'm of course very sad about what is happening in Brazil. But Brazilian recent experience show that there is an opportunity to reduce world asymmetry and to be guided for society and for the planet. These are the new guides for the political policy, for the industrial policy, for the innovation policy. And Brazil, I think, in some sense, in a pioneering form, establish a policy that shows Brazil and maybe can help the world that it's possible. It's not word, it's not thinking, it's not only desire, but it is a real possibility. Thanks a lot, and sorry for the 10 minutes more that I spent in the presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Carlos. That was amazing. I think João wants to say something also.
Yes.
Yes, João.
Yes. 2 things about Gadelha. I don't know. For family issues, I arrived late, so I could not say this in the beginning. Some time ago, I gave a seminar, a lecture at the LSC, and the title was Engaged Development, an homage to Albert Hirschman and Oscar Niemeyer. And the argument there was the necessity of political engagement if we want to search for, new venues of development. When I was hearing Gadelha here, and it fits well, all the vibe that he brings in on the tone of this engaged development mode. This is the first thing. So he talks about with emotion, and Carlota is a person that is full of energy and emotion, and I think that he follows that. So this is the first point. The second is that whatever Gadelha said and told you, it's the result not only of an institution of Fiocruz and his professional experience, but it's very much based on the reflection and the concepts of industrial that he had during his lifetime and during his PhD of reflecting and organizing concepts. The alignment of stars, he had the opportunity to participate during a short period of an industrial policy. Yeah. So all the reasons for bringing these people here together, Carlota, I think that the example of Gadelha is very interesting. And in one subject, it's very much on the mind of everyone for obvious reasons. So the engaged development, but with a lot of theoretical, conceptual preparation is necessary for undertaking actions. Thank you.
Thank you, João.
Thank you,
I think Carlota also has a question. So Carlota, you can. It's muted.
I think maybe I would rather let other people ask.
Okay.
I had something to say at the beginning, but it could be better towards the end. So
okay. I think so. We'll start with the questions from YouTube that people put there. So Bruno asked, what is the role of regulatory agencies in partnering in the effort of fostering the Brazilian health industrial complex / system or any other moderately developed one out there?
What do you prefer? It's better to listen some questions or not?
Whatever you prefer.
I think I can listen three questions.
3 questions, okay. So the next one from Andrea. Vaccine production by Fiocruz should benefit other countries. As long as everyone is not safe, our countries will not be safe. Well, I don't know if that was the question. It was just a comment.
I think it was a comment. She was stating the words of the president of Fiocruz, Nícia Trinade, that said that Brazil should share their capabilities and knowledge in vaccine production.
Thank you, Melina. Also, Bruno from YouTube, is it harder to get these regulators such as Anvisa in Brazil sharing ideas of state directionality from the very beginning, since they are generally more neoclassical oriented? And a last one from YouTube. Regarding COVID vaccines, could you explain in practical terms what Fiocruz Butantan can produce at the moment and what it lacks? Is it the active pharmaceutical ingredients? What happens if we break the vaccine patents? Do we have the capabilities to internalize the production of API? would we be able to produce vaccine for the annual variants, as in the flu vaccine? And what are the dangers of breaking patents now and being retaliated by the vaccine companies? That was a long one.
Yeah.
Now I need to answer. Okay.
Well, if you need more information, you just ask me. They're all like on the chat. So,
João, you point exactly it was the point of departure. I excuse myself because I talk people that I will not talk only about the Brazilian experience, because it is completely related with the practical perspective we have been developing in Oswaldo Cruz Foundation, and the interaction with you, Luciano Coutinho, and Cassiolato, and many colleagues that share the same worry. And the concept was behind the policy. If you don't have the concept, the perspective, you don't know how to go. But at the same time, please don't be locked in only in the concept. We have this opportunity. It is a tradition in Oswaldo Cruz Foundation and many economical colleagues from institutions that has this kind of commitment with policy. I will ask André and someone. Oswaldo Cruz Foundation is a strike example, but I think we must recover. And it's other thing I didn't have time to emphasize, the Latin America cooperation. For example, I went a lot to Argentina to establish a cooperation to produce vaccine in Argentina. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to transform it in real terms. But nowadays, it's very clearly that territory is very, very important, and the proximity is very, very important. Then I see Oswaldo Cruz Foundation not only as a Brazilian institution. For example, our cooperation, I'm used to say, who doesn't have science, technology, and innovation capability can't even cooperate. We cooperate with Africa, for example, with yellow fever vaccine, to offer yellow fever vaccine, because we know to produce that. We may cooperate with Latin America because we have knowledge. But at the same time, we have a very, very big challenge. The distance is increasing. Then the old but necessary perspective of Latin America cooperation is on the table. And please don't forget COVID-19 in 2 years, 3 years, because COVID-19 also shows us the keyhole of international cooperation. For example, I went many times to Argentina to discuss the concept and the Brazilian policy to there. I went to Ecuador also, to Colombia. Okay, I do believe that we have a way to cooperate, and COVID helped us a lot. The health complex has a characteristic. You need very, very high technology products, but at the same time, you need mask. Everything in health is sophisticated, everything. If you take any medicine, you can't take without many tests, without many knowledge, many effort, okay? Then, how can I say, the space is open for different level of development and of cooperation in the productive area. Nisa Trindade is our president. I'm very proud. He is from sociology. is another characteristic. The way people classify the workers of health don't consider economists and and people from sociology or from history. Nowadays, even this kind of categorization must be changed. But she is the first woman that was president from Oswaldo Cruz Foundation in the middle of the very, very, very difficult context. And nowadays, this perspective, I can tell you, universal system and the health economic industrial complex are the two main priorities of our institution. The universal access and to develop the economical and technological base to attend the population. And the more specific question about COVID-19, I can tell you that, I would give you a number. Last week, people say, oh, we could get 1 million doses from Pfizer. We must try to buy Pfizer vaccine, okay? We must try. In the same day, Oswaldo Cruz Foundation offered 7 million doses. Butantan, 40 million doses. You are talking about a country with 212 million people. Then, how can I say? Don't give us a coin, a change, as in that photo. We want technology. We want knowledge. We don't want, how can I say smaller? We don't want
Tip.
We want tip, okay? Only tip. But we need it. COVAX mechanism from the WHO is a very important mechanism. Global health is a very important mechanism. And the API, it is in our perspective to produce the API until the end of the year. But I want to emphasize, in the past, João Carlos and Igor knows that. It took 10 years to produce a biological product in Brazil. Nowadays, it will take 1 year. Why? Because we invest. João Carlos and Igor, you could be proud of that. The investment that BNDES, FINEP, and the health ministry bought the products, but it is the technological platform that will permit us to produce COVID vaccine. But it is a risky process. I will not lie. I will not tell you, I will tell you the truth. The technological process is difficult, complex, and we have to ask and to fight in the global arena to have access to technology, to knowledge. It is unacceptable to establish patent barriers when it is crucial. Sometimes it's not crucial. For example, the vaccine Butantan and the Fiocruz is producing, it is guided by the public policy perspective with no profits. Until now. But we couldn't be in a risk situation related to the patent legislation and to the global strategy. Okay, nowadays we are in the time to show clearly the interest. The 23rd agenda is true or not? It's only to talk about that or to change? I want to know.
Gadelha, can I shift a little bit your, and pick your brains on one issue that is crucial, and it is related to
not listen well,
to the real capacity. My question is whether countries with a smaller size, economies of scale, yeah? Countries of a smaller size, if they, what are the challenges that they face? You know, Brazil has done what it has done because of history, because of a policy, because of, you know, everything else. Now, a country of a smaller size, does it have the same opportunities or different opportunities? Yeah, take our neighbors, Uruguay, Ecuador. Can it design a policy on the same level?
João, it's a very important, difficult question, but I am for a pattern of cooperation. Let me see if the book's here. I am for globalization, okay? But as Milton Santos say, another globalization, another globalization. I think that in the health complex, it is very, very possible. It is possible to establish cooperation even with small countries, But of course, I think you have to establish a mutual commitment. For example, to think about the territorialization of the health complex in terms of Latin America. I see very clearly, for example, Argentina, Uruguay. When I went to Ecuador, they have been developing many interesting software, for example, that could be applied in the health system. Nowadays, the technologies that are in this very, 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 very important in this moment as big data, software, artificial intelligence. But there is a bet. I think that the regional of Latin America perspective must be, how can I say, must be an objective of our region. Without this political decision, you are right. They will compete and they will not have the same national, you are talking about that, the same national capacity to induce the public and the private investment. But I do believe, for example, for Brazil, it's not very good to not have if you are not articulated in the regulatory system. It is a mess. It's impossible to buy one vaccine in one country of Latin America and the other country doesn't accept the same vaccine. Then, how can I say, you have many space to coordinate the policy and the initiative in the regional scale. And one of you asked me about regulatory agency, and I didn't have asked. For example, our regulatory agency, Anvisa, in its mission was only protect people with safe products and products with efficacy. It's correct, completely correct. But in this period, Anvisa present a second mission, contribute to the development of the health economic industrial complex. Então, at the same time, you see, if you have a product that's not important for the population, goes to the end of the line. If you are developing a product that is essential for COVID-19, you have all the rules that this product will be, we will have prioritization by the regulatory agency. Then, how can I say, the regulatory system is not neutral. Sometimes a company that is leader in the world, they want a regulatory system very, very, very hard, because it creates entry barriers to newcomers. Then the regulatory system, I always used to say, I don't know if it's correct to say it here, but I always used to say, if, I will not say the firm, if that international firm has a problem, it is its problem. If a national production, Butantan, Oswaldo Cruz, or a private company that is producing a product that is essential for health, anesthetic, for example, it's not its problem, it is our problem. Then, how to help the company to improve, how to help the company to adjust the production line, how to help the institution to adopt the best practice in the world, it is our problem. The perspective is completely different from the traditional perspective. Many people that doesn't look for the both side of the coin, look, even people committed with the universal health system. Doesn't matter who is producing. I want the product that is good and safe. Good and safe. I say, I want a product that is good and safe. But I want to know who is producing that product. If you are vulnerable or not. If you, as it occurs, who are producing ventilators? Only 4 firms, supported by BNDES is one of them. But we are caught in the middle of a strong vulnerability. And the data show us this vulnerability. At the same time, you notice this vulnerability. 1 month, João, you don't know that. 1 month before the COVID pandemic, the department of ventilator was closed. 1 month before. I write about that.
Okay. Carlota, do you want to ask your question now?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Carlos. That's been a fantastic presentation, very clarifying and very encouraging, which is also important. You know, I have said very often, you just talked about how you need knowledge for collaboration. And of course, knowledge is something that you accumulate, and you accumulate in human capital, people who study abroad and come back, and people who work directly, universities that develop internally. So you need knowledge, you need experience, you need laboratories, you need all these things to, and obviously, you also need institutions, good organizations like what you're talking to us about now. I have said very often in these meetings that my definition of underdevelopment is the incapacity for institutional accumulation. That what happens is that sometimes we have some fantastic institutions with fantastic programs which are having wonderful results, and then we have a change of government, or we have a change of leadership, the director is changed or whatever, and the whole thing comes down, crashing down, because this person or this government decides that they want something else. They don't even find out what was happening. It is this very underdevelopment type of behavior that doesn't realize that institutions have to grow, and that each person that comes in has to pick up on what was there. My question is, I understand that that BNDES with Joao there helped Fiocruz and or the companies that were doing the things that were connected with you people. Now we have Bolsonaro, and there are probably very basic changes in all the institutions that had to do with you. Did you manage to preserve did you manage to accumulate? What has happened? Is it possible with a change as radical as that one to conserve, to continue, to have continuity in what you've been doing? The truth.
I'll drink water because this is the central question. Okay, we can't see innovation as only a technique. It's a social process and institutional process. The time we developed that policy, and I'm talking to it here only to say, oh, the good old times. It's also to face the rude moment we are dealing with a project, with an initiative, with to mobilize the young people, to mobilize the society. But I have to tell you and to agree with you that the institutional learning, the institutional accumulation, at that time, BNDES was strong, FINEP was strong. They like to talk with the health ministry and cooperate. I talk to my colleagues from FINEP, from BNDES, the priorities. BNDES and FINEP, I don't know in English, BNDES and FINEP, change. BNDES, I'm sure. FINEP, I'm almost sure. Change the way they work in pharmaceutical only. How to get competitiveness in pharmaceuticals. It was the department of BNDES. It changed the department for the department of the health complex and selected as a priority to reduce the vulnerability of the universal system. It was completely new. An industrial department of BNDES selecting a social objective in this mission. The same occurred in FINEP, and maybe Igor can tell us, because after they create integrate program, we don't have time to explore here. But Carlota, you are completely right. I can tell you that Oswaldo Cruz Foundation has a strong legitimacy. We are, how can I say, fighting, and at the same time, we are having, we are a strong institution, even in the current context. But at the same time, how can I say, I'm talking a lot about that, Carlota, and sometimes people doesn't agree or doesn't understand. I don't want to return only to the old development state. This perspective also open a way to dialogue more with society. I was responsible for the industrial policy as a whole during 1 year and after my experience in the health ministry. I saw the department of automobilistic industry. I saw the department of agribusiness. I saw the department of chemicals. I saw the department of metals. Aço, I don't know in English, aço, I forgot in English.
Steel.
Steel. I saw the department of jokes, brinquedos, I don't know. I saw the department that deal with furniture and so on. I didn't saw the Department of Mobility. I didn't saw the Department of Health. I didn't see the Department of the Life in the Cities. I didn't saw the Department of Innovation for Sustainability. Our old state is wrong. It must be rooted in the society, because it is the unique chance you have to induce the society to enter in the battle for the state itself, institution. We prepare a survey about the institution that the people like more in Brazil. It's not it's not marketing, I promise. But Oswaldo Cruz Foundation achieved the first one place. Why? Not because Einstein went to Oswaldo Cruz Foundation. Not because we have very interesting scientists, but because they take vaccines. We talk to the people. You don't know, but Oswaldo Cruz Foundation is inside of you. You may don't know, but your children, you take care of your children. And Oswaldo Cruz Foundation was not destroyed until now, and it will not be destroyed. Then this kind of perspective we are discussing here is a way to have more a stronger social legitimacy for the industrial and innovation policy. I believe that. Of course, I am not sure. I am all. I try to be energized, okay, but I think it is an opportunity to be as a little more or more as social connected, even to be protected. Because if you don't have time, Carlota, I present here process that take 20 years. The technological platform, it was 20 years of effort, even involving a cooperation with Cuba. Look, João, cooperation with Cuba, a small country in biotechnology. It's possible. It's possible. It was a win-win game at that time. A win-win game between Brazil and Cuba. Brazil has a huge market, and Cuba has biotechnology. We could cooperate at that time. Then I will not. I have to talk to you that, of course, I am afraid. But I think it's a way we must work in a way to increase the legitimacy of science, technology, and innovation, to link it with social and environmental needs.
Let me just complement
The
Carlota.
maximum I can talk to.
Carlota, let me complement directly on your question. First, the changing that you complain about or observe is not a privilege of the right against the left. My experience in government is that it is not a matter of ideology. Of course, when you bring in ideology like we are going through now, there are, it's absurd what they're doing. But you also find desire of change because the politicians have to have their signature on issues. So this is the first point. The second, I'm taking from Gadelha, is that strong institutions that are accumulated, capacities that are accumulated in time, have more resilience in times of dire straits. But what is more important in this case is that sometimes people at the head of these institutions will have to have the stomach the guts to deal with people that normally one would not deal with. Yeah, in order to have the institution to follow on and so on. This is, you know, it's not only Fiocruz. At the regulatory agency in Brazil, it also happens the same thing. So there is, you know, the capacity to resist. And these are people that are sitting on seats that they wouldn't, you know, personally, they would not have to. So again, the issue.
João?
Your system is betraying you.
Engage development sometimes take you to, you know, you have taking pictures and so on.
Yes, however, that's if you're capable of keeping the same people so that they can then negotiate with the new ones. But if you can hold on, the problem is that they change you so that then you can't even continue. But I was wondering, well, maybe we can leave it at that. If there are there any other questions so that we don't keep on the same?
Actually, Melina had a question and Andrea also had a question.
Yeah, because we don't have that much more time, so it's better.
Yeah. So if you can go very quickly, maybe Melina, you can tell your question, and then Andrea as well, and then Carlos can finish.
Yeah, nice. It was really interesting. Thank you very much, Carlos. Such a fascinating presentation. So my question actually had to do with the things that Carlota and Joao were discussing. So we're going to stay a little bit more on topic. And I was like, there's one phrase that really struck me from your presentation. You said that without 10 years of public procurement, no vaccines would be produced in Brazil. And I was wondering, like, what did it take you to sustain such a long-term commitment despite all the political and economic jolts that you faced? Like, for instance, within that 10-year period window that you described, you had Lula, you had Dilma, you had Temer. I know that Dilma and Lula are from the same party, but we all saw what happened to Brazil. That took Dilma out of power. So I was wondering, besides the guts mentioned by Joao and keeping the same people, as Carlota said, what else does it take to sustain such commitment? Thank you.
And then maybe Andrea can tell her question as well, and then we go to Carlos in the end. Is that okay?
Thank you, Carlos, for such a thoughtful and inspiring presentation. And hi to everyone as well. My question is about some of the difficult questions that you raised during your presentation regarding the Agenda to 2030 of the UN. And I think you raised difficult questions, but they need to be discussed. And so in that spirit, I would like to comment a little bit more on your views and precisely on the issue of access to technologies, because some of the objectives of the agenda, we know that could be significantly be improved, or we could advance if existing technologies could already be accessed. And the COVID vaccines are one of the examples. And also we would want to ensure access to the upcoming technologies, no? So in that sense, how do you see the discussion evolving, or the prospects of a new intellectual property agreement? And how would you see also the short-term and medium to long-term consequences of hopefully a new agreement? Thank you.
Andrea is a friend of mine. Okay. We interacted, and her father Mariano is another very, very, very important economist, and he helped me in all the trajectory in this perspective. I wanted to talk that, okay, and to say that. But Melina, I return to Andrea. Melina, I don't have many things more to talk to you because it's very close to Carlota's question. But you are students, né? You are studying a master degree, doctorate, and so on.
About to finish.
Yeah, about to finish. But you continue, I suppose. Okay. And I think that the Carlota subject is very, very crucial. We don't study, and we don't, how can I say, the institutional and even the state. This state, I think João Carlos talked something similar. I didn't listen to him very, very well. But this state is not very well structured to do something different. Okay, I say don't let the discussion about the state and the institution for people who doesn't like the state. We must discuss the state, the institutional stability in our research agenda. How to guarantee some mechanisms, for example, how the president of Oswaldo Cruz Foundation is selected. There is a mandate. There is a stability. How to guarantee the stability of BNDES? Of course, the policy, the government always will be important. But how can I say, this agenda of the institutional transformation and the state capability must be reinforced in more practical terms. In general, in theory, I've been reading a lot. Maybe I must be up to date. Please help me, send me some reference, okay? But I think that the left wing didn't took this agenda so hardly. I see very much the World Bank talking about the state. They have the receipt. We don't have the clear questions. You must evolve. I knew the state in a period, a good period. And it's not good, people. It's not good. It's not good. We must have the courage to say that. I will not tell you everything was perfect. I'm not, of course. Then I think I got very stimulated. Carlota, please call me to collaborate in this process, because this is my big question. How to think about institution in the states to evolve. We need that. Andrea, I talk to you first on one thing more simple. The 2030 agenda is very, very sectoral. Health is the third goal only. How can I say, the systemic aspect of I am for the 2030 agenda. I think it's very important. We must follow that, but it reproduces the different worlds. The economical world, the technological world, the social world, okay? I know it is not easy, but it's a reality. It does consider the social determinants of health, the health is science, the technologies, economy, okay? We must dynamize, okay? We must, okay? It's very static, but it's very important. It's a reference that we must fight, and it put many people together, and many people that are worried about social needs, about the planet, and so on. But it is very. But I want to provoke. I don't know. For example, they must put the finger in the in the right way, okay? For example, I am very enthusiastic about Biden administration. I got surprised every day. Wow, Roosevelt, okay. Wow, climate change, what? But I want to see the agenda for North-South cooperation. They will approve a Trans-Pacific agreement that excludes Latin America from biotechnology, that limits our capacity to use the public procurement power to buy our products. I want to see that. If they don't change, they are against the 2030 agenda. They are against 2030 agenda only for the North and for the Amazon, okay? But not to reduce technological. Sorry, I will change one day. I will. But I want to see, and the intellectual property, it's not only the COVID vaccine. COVID vaccine is very difficult to produce very in short period. But for example, in Brazil, we are having problems with anesthetics. That is essential. Can you imagine a person being in an intensive unit without anesthetic? Then I think the perspective that the intellectual property will not be a barrier for life, for me, it's the basic. But of course, we must analyze. We respect the voluntary license that are permitting us to produce. We will not put the contracts out. Okay, do the things, not, how can I say, in a pamphletary, no, doesn't exist, not in a binary way, but being very clearly, nowadays, in the middle of the pandemic, we must analyze a generosity, a cooperation that the intellectual property you can't be a barrier for life. I think it's unethical, and it's not only a philosophy. For example, API, masks. The intellectual property is not only about vaccine, and some vaccines. Why not stimulate more producers to produce products to guarantee the world supply? Okay, without any ingenuity and without being naive. Okay, we don't have this. People here like football, né? I like to bater penalty. How can I say? I like to Marco, me ajuda. I like to bater penalty.
I think it's penalty anyway.
To kick the penalty.
I like penalty. Okay, I like penalty. I'm not talking only
free kicks.
Huh?
Free kicks.
Okay, then we must be responsible not to break the contracts, but say if you establish any barrier to save lives, the compulsory license will be automatically approved without any bureaucracy. This is my opinion. It's not exactly one rigid opinion, but it's very clear that the commitment with the well-being and with life can't be blocked by property rights. And sorry, Carlota, I finished. But there is a global discussion that the agreement, this is another discussion I want to participate, that the agreement that generates the intellectual property system is completely old. 20 years of protection is protection forever. It's not a change between a reward for the innovator and after you compensate the society. the system is not well balanced. It's not well balanced. This is an international discussion you must face. 20 years in the vaccine is forever. Don't lie. Don't lie. Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. I asked them. I asked the North. I asked United States, Europe. I asked Biden. Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. Sorry.
Thank you, Carlos. Carlota, do you want to say anything in the end?
It's been fantastic, I think.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Carlos. I just want to ask you all to turn on your cameras and then we can take a picture.